I was practically a nervous wreck as I walked through the doors under the huge pink sign that read Shirley Potter's. Immediately in front of me, to the left of the counter, was a stairway leading up from the first floor, mostly dance wear, to the second, where the rental costumes were. As I climbed the stairs, I discreetly slipped my hand inside my jacket to check my armpit. Just a slight bit of perspiration. Luckily, I had anticipated the nerves and gone heavy on deodorant this morning. At the top, I stood before the counter where 3 staff members were stationed. At least I had options. I glanced around the store, weighing whether to explore on my own or go straight to the counter. Beyond the counter, where wigs of all colors and styles hung, was a section for mascot suits. The rest of the store was filled with racks of vibrant costumes. A nearby mannequin wore a glittery pink dress with puffed sleeves, unmistakably Glenda, the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz. Figuring I'd need assistance eventually, I chose to go up to one of the clerks, a woman around my age, with a short blonde pageboy cut. She looked up from styling a colonial wig into a roller-curled beehive. "Can I help you with anything?" she asked. I cleared my throat and looked away nervously. "Yes, actually. I need help picking out a costume for a Halloween party." I took a breath. It's a themed dare between friends, and part of the challenge is that I don't get to choose it myself. One of the staff here does. Her interest was piqued. "Interesting. Any rules on the costume?" I nodded. "Just one. No pants, it has to be a dress or skirt of some kind." She stifled a grin, clearly amused but trying to be polite. Another clerk, slightly older with her hair up, returned from organizing the racks. "What's going on?" she asked. The first clerk gave her a smile. "He's doing a theme challenge and needs help picking a costume that follows some very specific wardrobe rules." "Oh," the newcomer said with a playful smile. "Are you going for a ballerina theme?" The younger girl lit up. "I wasn't, but now I'm thinking about it." The brunette laughed gently. "This is going to be so much fun. You go help him get started, I've got a few other ideas." The blonde led me to a rack filled with elaborate ballet costumes, large tutus, padded bodices, and pastel shades. I flinched slightly at the sight of the bright pink outfit with exaggerated details. She noticed my hesitation and gave me a curious glance. She looked me over. "What's your name?" I hesitated, tempted to give a fake one, but I knew I'd need to use my real ID to rent anything. "Cody," I said. "I'm Alexandra. You know, Cody. I think we can do better than these. These ones are more for group performances or joke costumes. You're a good fit for something more natural, a standard women's outfit, maybe even something elegant." "I think you'll look great." "Sound good." I turned a little red. "It's your call." "Just anything but that one," I added, pointing to the pink costume with a grin. Alexandra laughed softly. "Perfect. Why don't you head into that changing room while I grab a few things for you to try?" I hesitated, not wanting to reveal I'd already anticipated this scenario. "Try them on." She nodded. "Of course. The fit matters, and we want to find something flattering. I'll help you look your best." As she spoke, I nervously touched the small stud in my left ear. Alexandra noticed for the first time, and the matching one on my right. "Maybe it was the earrings that gave your friends the idea for this challenge," she said playfully. I shrugged. "Actually, it was the other way around. I had to get them done yesterday so they'd be ready for Halloween. That's when the reveal happens." Alexandra looked intrigued. "So, what were the rules for this little dare?" "It was my birthday night out. I had a bit too much to drink and made a deal with 3 friends. The winner gets to pick costumes for the others, total creative control." This time, she didn't just smile, she burst out laughing. "All right, let's get started." She walked me to the row of changing rooms, pointed me to one, and said, "Just take off your outer clothes. We'll pass the options over the door for you to try on." I stepped into the room and closed the door behind me. Bearwood surrounded me on all sides, no mirror. How was I supposed to know how I looked without one? I stood there for a few moments until I heard a voice outside the dressing room. I think it was the brunette. "How you doing in there? Ready to try some things on?" Where's the mirror? I asked. It's out here, at the end of the dressing room row. My heart skipped. I hadn't planned on stepping out in full costume. I hesitated, unsure, until her voice came again. Come on, it's not that bad. It's quiet today. And, honestly, we've seen it all. Guys try on costumes all the time before Halloween. You won't be the first or last. Yeah, Alexandra chimed in. We need to see how it fits to help you choose the best one. Hard to tell inside that little room. I sighed and opened the door. They handed me a bundle of hangers for which the sign inside said was the max at once. After locking the door again, I changed out of my clothes and looked at the first costume, a Cleopatra outfit. Cream white fabric, sleeveless top, fitted waist, and a long pencil skirt. I paused for a moment, realizing I hadn't brought a fresh layer underneath. I was wearing patterned black underwear, not ideal under white, but there wasn't much I could do now. I decided to make the best of it and hoped it wouldn't show. The dress fit surprisingly well, snug at the waist and flowing down to my ankles. I purposefully made a little extra noise unlatching the door to signal I was ready. Once I heard them just outside, I opened the door. The girls took a quick look and chuckled softly. Well? I asked. Come take a look, Alexandra said, gesturing toward the mirror. I walked the short distance to the mirror, though it felt far longer with each step. When I reached it, I faced my reflection. No makeup yet, which made the Cleopatra look incomplete, but it wasn't bad. The fit flattered my shape more than I expected. Both girls stood behind me, inspecting the look together. What do you think? Alexandra asked the other. Not bad, she replied. But Cleopatra usually has dark hair, and his is almost blonde. What about a wig? I asked. The brunette gently ran her fingers through my hair, which reached my shoulders, the result of lots of time and care. We could, she said, but honestly, you've got great hair. It'd be a shame not to use it. Alexandra agreed. I was quietly relieved they hadn't said anything about what I was wearing underneath. The next costume featured a green and white pleated skirt, paired with a white sweater that had green stripes down the arms and a bold green A on the chest. Classic cheerleader, playful, but not overly flashy like the modern versions seen on TV. I changed quickly, the skirt falling just above the knees while the sweater hung a little loose. I unlocked the door and waited. When I stepped out, Alexandra lit up. You look adorable, she said with a grin. Then, her smile grew a little sly and she stepped toward me into the room. I instinctively backed up. Bridget, could you grab some hair ties from the wig station? She asked. I've got some in my coat, I offered. I have to wear my hair tied back at work. Even better. I grabbed the small bag from my pocket and Alexandra picked 2 blue ties. Turn around, she said. I did, and she gently parted my hair and began tying it into 2 neat ponytails, higher and more playful than how I normally wore it. After finishing the second one, she looked me over with an approving nod. All right, let's go see. I followed her out to the mirror. The simple change in hairstyle had an unexpected effect. I looked noticeably different. More polished. More in character. Alexandra and Bridget stood beside me, examining the costume. Alexandra frowned slightly. I caught the look. What's wrong? I asked. It's just, she glanced at my legs. They're a little on the furry side. Planning on trimming them before the big day? My face warmed. I sighed. I wish. Huh? Bridget asked, both leaning in. I said I wish I had the option. The girls already have plans for the weekend before Halloween. I'm getting the full makeover treatment. Oh! Alexandra raised a brow. Yep, I nodded, resigning myself. They said they're doing the works, arms, legs, even chest if it'll show under the costume. The girls burst out laughing, but in a way that felt more amused than mocking. You're braver than I am, Alexandra said, grinning. Even I don't go that far. Oh, that'll be memorable, Bridget teased. Well, hey, at least your legs will be super smooth afterward. Finally, they sent me back in to try costume number 3, a short green dress with a jagged hem and a pair of detachable wings. Tinkerbell. I blinked. How exactly I was going to keep everything covered in something this short, I wasn't sure. I sighed and carefully changed, hanging up the cheerleader outfit. The Tinkerbell dress looked accurate, movie-level quality. I slipped my arms into it, but it didn't make it past my shoulders. After a bit of a struggle, I gave up. Doesn't fit, I called out. Which one? One of them asked. Tinkerbell. Too bad. Try the saloon girl next. This one looked far more flamboyant. Red and black with off-shoulder straps, a piped bodice, and a wide, frilled skirt. The kind of dress you'd expect in a classic Western dance hall. I unzipped it, stepped in, and pulled it up slowly. The fabric slid over my frame and rested comfortably at ankle length. I slid my arms into the sleeves and began zipping, but the zipper snagged halfway up my back. I wrestled with it for a while until I heard Alexandra call out, "How's it going in there?" "Can't get it zipped." "Want help?" I hesitated. Do we have to?" "Yes." I opened the door. Thankfully, she positioned herself in the doorway, blocking any passerby from seeing inside. She tried the zipper, pulling gently at the fabric to get it to line up. "Okay, take a deep breath and hold it," she instructed. I did. The fabric tightened snugly around my torso. "Now exhale," she said, and with the release of tension, she zipped the rest of the way up. I turned to face her. "What?" I asked when she giggled. She reached up and removed one of the elastics I'd forgotten about, taking both out with a smirk. "Let's see the full look." As I walked to the mirror, I became very aware of how snug the bodice was. It fit closely, not uncomfortably, but definitely secure. The underskirt swished softly against my legs with each step, adding to the experience. When I reached the mirror, one thing was clear. The bodice bulged slightly at the midsection. I wasn't overweight, but I also wasn't model thin. For a guy on the leaner side of average, the fit was still ambitious. As we studied my reflection, I noticed a customer heading downstairs. She didn't seem to register me, which I took as a small relief, then turned my attention back to the mirror. The off-shoulder neckline actually looked decent. It softened the focus from my broader shoulders and distracted from the square line of my neck. The tight waist, though, still didn't quite flatter. Bridget rejoined us from another part of the store and gave me a quick once-over. "A bit snug on him," Alexandra noted. "Do we have it in a larger size?" Bridget asked, still analyzing. "Not in the saloon girl style," Alexandra said. "Only something similar in the Klondike collection." Bridget tapped her chin thoughtfully. "Too bad we don't rent corsets." Alexandra brightened at the idea. "That could really change the shape, give more lift, and smooth everything out." Bridget nodded, then finally looked at me directly. "You might want to check with your friends. Maybe someone has one tucked away in a closet. Could make certain costumes fit better." "You mean depending on which one we pick," Alexandra added with a smile. They decided that was enough for this look and sent me back to the change room. I noticed new costumes hanging now, not the ones I'd already tried. Just seeing them made me let out a quiet groan, loud enough for the girls to hear, which earned a giggle from the other side of the door. I took off the dress and breathed out as the tightness around my waist finally eased. The next outfit was sleeveless like the last, but with on-shoulder straps and a much shorter hem. It was a shimmery olive green with layered ruffles underneath in bold colors, red, yellow, and orange. It felt familiar, but I couldn't quite place it. I was starting to feel a bit overwhelmed by all the dress-up, but I reminded myself, this was the challenge, and I'd agreed to it. Luckily, this dress fit better than the previous one. After a few adjustments, I managed to zip it up on my own. When I opened the door, both girls reacted with enthusiasm. They whisked me back to the mirror before I could hesitate. Bridget even lifted a small portion of the hem to check the colorful ruffles underneath. "Wow, that pop of color is fun," she said with a laugh, while Alexandra chuckled at my expression. I must have looked equal parts embarrassed and uncertain, but their reaction stayed playful and supportive, no teasing beyond the surface. And thankfully, it didn't feel like anything inappropriate had been revealed. "You look great," Bridget said as we reached the mirror. "Great," I murmured, distracted by another customer browsing mascot costumes. Thankfully, they didn't seem to notice or care. "What's this one supposed to be?" I asked. "Can't you tell?" Alexandra grinned. "You're a can-can dancer. Maybe show us a twirl," Bridget teased. I flushed red. Dancing in this would definitely mean the skirt might fly up, not ideal. The girls chuckled at my visible hesitation. "Come on," Alexandra nudged. "Just a little leg?" I looked from one to the other. Both were grinning expectantly. Sighing, I lifted the edge of the skirt just enough to reveal the curve of my thigh. "You've got pretty good legs," Alexandra said, smiling. "Once you clean them up a bit, you'll look great." I headed back to the changing room for the next costume, nervously wondering what could top what I'd already worn. It was white with black spots, a lot of fabric. As I removed it from the hanger, I saw it came in two pieces, a full, flowing skirt and a fancy blouse with a wide collar, very Southern elegance. Thankfully, the elastic in the fabric made it easy to slip on. Once dressed, I stepped out, but the girls immediately waved me off. "Too white for your complexion," Alexandra decided. Disappointed that it was rejected so quickly after the effort, I returned to change into the next outfit. The following costume came in 3 parts, a short red skirt, a puff-sleeved white blouse, and a red hooded cape that tied under the chin in a large bow. Red Riding Hood. I stepped out, and both girls clapped and laughed in delight. I made my way to the mirror, but Bridget stopped me. "Try skipping. You are Red Riding Hood," she said with a wink. I sighed, then did my best imitation of a playful skip toward the mirror. At the reflection, I noticed stray chest hairs showing at the neckline and made a mental note. More waxing would definitely be required. "How cute," Alexandra said. Then it happened, a loud wolf whistle from the stairwell. I froze. My face went bright red. The man who made the noise laughed and quickly disappeared back downstairs, while the girls tried to stifle their laughter. I pulled the cape around me awkwardly, wishing I could vanish. "Do you have a girlfriend?" Bridget asked, still amused. "No," I muttered. "Too bad, you two could have gone as Red and the Wolf," she joked. Alexandra placed a reassuring hand on my back and gently guided me toward the change room. "We saved the best for last," she said. I braced myself. Inside was a black satin outfit trimmed with white lace and crinoline, unmistakably a French-made costume. The skirt was shorter than any before. Thankfully, the stretchy material made it easy to put on. I tugged at the hem a few times, trying to get it to sit just a little lower. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out. Bridget and Alexandra burst into laughter, not in a cruel way, but clearly enjoying the moment. I walked past them, back straight, determined to preserve at least a little dignity. "Curtsy," Alexandra said, holding back a grin. I paused, gave a small sigh, and complied. I blinked, feeling caught off guard, like a deer in headlights. "But why?" Alexandra smiled reassuringly. "If we go with this costume, people will definitely ask you to curtsy. I just want to make sure you're prepared." I took a deep breath and did my best to imitate the curtsies I'd seen in movies. I kept the skirt neatly gathered in front, trying to stay composed. After a few tries, Alexandra nodded with a grin and walked me back to the change room. "Go ahead and get dressed in your regular clothes while Bridget and I decide," she said cheerfully. As I pulled on my pants, I tried to guess their choice. Cleopatra and Tinkerbell were off the table. Same with the Saloon Girl and Southern Belle. That left a few standout options: the energetic cheerleader, the flirty Red Riding Hood, the bold can-can dancer, or the classic maid look. When I stepped out, Alexandra was already filling out the rental form. Bridget had gone to gather the selected costume. Alexandra finished writing and placed the paper face down on the counter. "Moment of truth," she said with a wink. I picked it up with nervous fingers and turned it over. It read, "One French-made dress." one black velvet choker with pearl, one white decorative garter, two lace arm cuffs, one white satin apron, one hair comb accessory. She showed me each item, placing the smaller pieces into a clear bag. She even held the choker up to my neck to make sure it fit. As she ran my card for the damage deposit, the machine buzzed and blinked while it processed. Alexandra gave me a playful smile. By the way, I saw a little more than you probably intended during your curtsy, she said. My eyes widened. Wait, how? There's a mirror behind you, she grinned. You were facing it when you bowed. I winced. I didn't even think about that. Don't worry, she said, still grinning. You pulled it off better than most would. I chuckled nervously. The girls gave me two choices when we started this, either wear the full look during selection, or they'd get creative with something more permanent. Alexandra laughed warmly. Well, I think you made the right choice. She let out a gasp, clearly surprised at how far things had gone. That's kind of extreme, she said softly. Just then, the machine printed my receipt. I signed it and made a quick exit, eager to catch my breath. For the next few blocks, I tried to calm down. My breathing slowly returned to normal as I approached the next stop, a boutique under a bright awning that read, Bad Girls, Women's Clothiers, Makeup, and Accessories. I stepped inside and was greeted by a stylish shop assistant helping another customer, a woman in her 30s trying on a sleek black leather jacket and skirt combo. Hi there. Can I help you with anything? She asked, clearly a little surprised to see a guy walking in solo. Yeah, I said with a sheepish nod. I lost a bet to some friends, and now I have to go to a Halloween party in a dress. I couldn't help smiling at their shared reaction. With the costume part out of the way, I figured I might as well shop for something else, maybe something I'd keep just for myself. And even now, I wonder, do people really make bets like this? Or is this just one of those stories you hear and never expect to live?